Hello guys, welcome back to another video. If you're new here, welcome, and if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for clicking on this video. This channel is all about nursing and self-development. So today we are going to talk about my NCLEX experience. Let's get right into it. So I received my ATT, I think November last year, 2020, and I was so nervous when I received the ATT, and then but I composed myself because that showed me that now I was supposed to start studying seriously. So I scheduled my exam on 29th January 2021. So after I had studied almost November, part of November, December, and January. Towards the date of the exam, I received an email from Pearson and they told me that my exam was cancelled, and I was so frustrated because I was really studying for it, and I had even taken time off from work just to study for the NCLEX. So later, my agency rescheduled the exam to 4th February, which was close enough. So thank God for that. So my NCLEX experience was pretty much different from so many people, because ever since I thought of sitting for my NCLEX, I started studying for it. I didn't graduate from the nursing school yesterday. I've been working for several years, so I didn't have the fresh knowledge from school. So I started studying for my NCLEX seriously in 2020, and I started mostly to dwell on my content because I had to build a foundation and to just bring my content up, because as I said, I didn't have the fresh knowledge from college, and NCLEX is textbook, so I had to go back and really study for it. So I started studying in 2020, early 2020, and I used several materials that included textbooks and Q banks that I used. So I'm gonna get right into the materials that I used for my studying. So the first thing that I used, or the first study materials that I used, was Saunders. Saunders, I think it's the 8th edition that I used. I went through Saunders, like literally the whole book. I used to do study system by system. So I went through Saunders, and I used to go through a system and do questions that followed the system. And then I also used a book that is called Pearson View Comprehensive something. Yeah, it's also a textbook that just resembles Saunders but from different companies. I went through that, a little bit of it, not the whole of it. So I went through that. All those I used to do for just to build my content. So after some time, after I had studied and built my content for some time, is when I got an agency. I got accepted to an agency that I'm not sure if it's okay to disclose here, but that's a story for another day. So I got an agency that wanted me to go through their program just to make sure that I'm okay with my content and that I'm ready to sit for the NCLEX. So I went through this program with my agency where we'll do webinars, we'll study, go through some modules about nursing. So, and everything that is pertaining to the NCLEX. So I used that too, and I did several exams with them just to gauge me, see where I was. So I was supposed to do my NCLEX in at least October last year, that's 2020, or maybe September 2020. But you know the COVID situation in the world, the NCLEX centers ended up shutting, so I couldn't leave my country to take my exam. So that gave me an added, I'll say an added advantage because I had more time to study. So I had gone through Saunders. I could come back from work and just sit down, go through systems and do the questions at the end of it, and that really helped me. So I had gone through Saunders, the whole of it, and then I had also gone through this other textbook that I used to read, the comprehensive Pearson View Comprehensive something. I'm forgetting the title of the book. Yeah, but I'll link it down in the description box. So I went through that, and I also used to listen to Klimek audios. They were really important and they were really helpful to me because McKay usually just simplifies things. He gets your memory to remember things. That's how he works. So I really recommend someone who is studying for the NCLEX. If you feel tired, you feel like at the end of the day you don't want to look at your books, you don't want to look at your notes, just listen to McClimick. He gives you those strategies that you could use, especially prioritization questions, to get them right. So I used McClimick, and then I also used to look at YouTube, the NCLEX RN site. The lady there is very straight to the point. She shows you what you're supposed to know, and she was really fundamental in my studying. So I could use to look at her videos because you create that the visual bit of studying. So I could look at her videos and just try to help my knowledge to stick according to what I've seen. And then towards the end of my study, I subscribed to UWorld. UWorld is very, 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 very key in my passing. So I subscribed a month subscription of UWorld, and the moment I started doing the UWorld questions, I thought like, oh, why did I just start these things sooner? Because UWorld makes you see the NCLEX. UWorld has the tutor mode and this other mode. I usually use the tutor mode. You'll do a question and then they give you the answer. You know if you've gotten it right or wrong. So you go through the answer and the rationale. And the rationales of UWorld had a lot of content. And it really opened my mind. And I could go through questions and go through rationales and write down the important thing that I've read through the rationale, because sometimes you can get a question right and maybe you didn't get it right for the right reason. So I went through the rationales. They are very important. It doesn't matter if you are getting it wrong or right on your world, as long as you go through the rationale and you understand it, it will be really helpful to you. So UWorld really helped me, and I wish that I could subscribe to it sooner, but it was very late. So I went through a whole queue bank of 1 month UWorld. I went through it, wrote down the rationales. In my UWorld, I had a 95th percentile, so I guess that shows that you have a high chance of passing. You will also have the assessment that you usually do at the end of the question, the Q bank. My Q bank didn't have that because it was only 1 month. So I'll recommend that someone who wants to start sooner and subscribe maybe for the 2 or 3 month subscription, so that you can go through it, go through the assessment. It will show you if you are ready or you are not. So the day of the exam, I was so nervous. I couldn't sleep. I woke up at 3 a.m. and I was just a nervous wreck. I was crying. I knelt down and prayed. I took a lot of breaths, breathing in and out. I was so nervous. Then I went to the exam room, probably an hour before time, and I had to wait outside for 15 minutes to time is when I got into the exam room. And when I did my exam, when I sat down, I was so nervous. And I went there expecting to get all the 145 questions, because that's how I knew maybe I had gone through everything. So at least there are chances of me passing. So when I sat down, the questions were so weird. The NCLEX questions looked so easy, but the answers were so confusing. And I went through the questions and answers and they were just really confusing. But I tried to apply every strategies that I used, that I knew about NCLEX. So I went through the questions praying that the computer doesn't shut down. But at around 75 questions, actually 75 questions, it shut down and I was so stressed. I almost dropped to the ground, but then I was sitting. So I left the examination center feeling so frustrated because I had studied for this exam for so long and it really harassed me. Because I looked at the questions, they were easy, but the answers were so confusing. I didn't know if I had passed or failed. I went to my room, hotel room, just knowing that maybe totally I had failed. Actually, I just knew that I had failed. I never did a Pearson trick. I never did that. I came back to my country, and probably 3 days later, I found out I had passed, and I was so happy. So I just want to tell you that you'll go to this exam, just expect to get all the questions and use the strategies that you've learned. Remember your content and just breathe in, because anxiety can really bring you down and can really make you fail even if you already knew so many things. So just relax, take take your breath, breathe in, breathe out. If you need a break, just go for that break and come back and continue. And I wish you success on your NCLEX exam if you have not taken it, or if you want to start preparing for the NCLEX. Just go through your study materials. There are so many. Don't get confused, don't get mixed up. Just pick the ones that suits you and go with it, and just go with your confidence. Don't panic, and just breathe in and breathe out. And I think that's all. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and I wish you success on your NCLEX exam. Thank you. Bye.